Welcome to another episode of the Sorrow Mind Podcast. I do hope that you enjoy our interview with Humble Little Narrator. I know I did. This is the Plague Doctor telling you to enjoy and make sure you're ready for the first original story by Sorrow Mind. Comes out at the end of the episode. I'm sure it'll be interesting. So here is our interview with another visitor to the mind, Humble Little Narrator. Before we get started, I'd like to thank all the listeners so far for a lot of views. I was really happy. I mean, I know that was probably because we had a lot of help. You know, Mr. Creepypasta and the Creepy Dark both were really good about promoting it, and I was really happy with the turnout, and I hope we can pull that off again. And like the Plague Doctor was saying, we have a treat at the end, and I hope you enjoy it. I know I enjoyed recording it. But, alright, here's the interview. Welcome to the interview portion of the second, we gotta edit. Woo! First edit, everyone! Yay! Okay. Welcome to the second episode. I'm probably going to leave that one in too. It's going to end up being a trend. Welcome to the second episode of the Sorrow Mind Productions podcast. Yet to be named. Please put any ideas in the comments. Send to me on the YouTube channel. We want ideas. We want ideas for names for this thing. But today we have another guest. I promise we'll get to some sort of themed episode where we actually have something specific to discuss. But we have a very lovely guest today, Humble Little Narrator.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for being on.
Oh, it's something. Don't mind me.
It's really nice to have a lot of different readers saying that they want to be part of this, and it really warms my heart to see all the different people giving me saying, oh, you did good on the podcast. I really want this thing to get out there to a lot of people to really allow for more community feeling for the creepypasta readers and their fans.
I'm always the type of person that likes to jump on projects. If someone needs some help in something, I'm like, I can do it. I can do it.
Then we will have to do some sort of crossover reading at some point then, eh? So, what we're going to do is we're just going to basically do the same sort of interview and discussion as we did with the Creepy Dark, who, by the way, will be back for a future episode, hopefully. And look forward to next week when we have Miss Shadow Lovely on the podcast. So, let's go ahead and begin. So, what made you get into creepypasta just as the hobby? Like, before you started reading, just as a hobby, what drew you to creepypasta?
Well, I was introduced to the Little Fears by a friend, and through Little Fears, another friend introduced me to Mr. Creepypasta, and that same friend was like, hey, this reading stuff is pretty fun. Why don't you do a reading? I'm like, no. She's like, do a reading. I'm like, no.
No, of course not.
No, go away. Because originally my YouTube channel was supposed to be for internet rants and reviews, because that's something I like to do. And then for fun and to get my friend to shut up, I recorded a creepypasta. And all of a sudden, people are demanding more, and I'm always someone who's eager to please, so I start doing more.
And I gotta say that you really lend yourself to the type of reading that you do, and of course the Alice Madness Returns soundtrack use is lovely.
Oh my God, I love the games.
We will
So
have to speak about that a little bit later on. We've got because that is one of those me into horror itself. So, well, you know, well, good work. You actually covered my first two questions in one. Yay! All right, but yeah, it's kind of like our channel. Our channel, if you look at the description, we're actually focusing on writing original stuff, and if all goes well and somehow we get enough money to pull everything together, we should have at least one, maybe two or three short films by the end of the summer.
oh
So
nice.
I'm really hopeful that turns out. You know, logistic wise, it's a tough thing to do, especially financially. But it's something that I really want to get into because creepypasta is something that everyone at Sorrow Mine really has a lot of passion for because we started back when we first started hearing the Slender Man stories and such on X. I've never been one that really enjoyed B on 4chan or anything, but I always enjoyed X because I was a horror fan. So it was something that drew us, and I'm really glad that it's drawn you into its little snare as well because I do enjoy listening to your readings.
Oh, thank you.
So, what was your favorite creepypasta? If you since you're so relatively new to the genre, what is your actual favorite?
My favorite thus far that I've read was The Holder of Peace. I
Mm,
really like the Holder series.
interesting. See, a lot of people dislike the formulaic approach, myself included. I enjoy the Holder series, but it's one of those where I get in the mood for it, but I never really know anybody that holds one in such high regard. So that's really interesting, actually.
The Holder of Peace is my favorite because it has a lot of elements that I really like. It has that real fantasy element,
Hmm.
the whole knight and monks. I'm just drawn to that stuff. I've always been drawn to like medieval things and fairy tales and stuff like that.
More for the fantasy rather than the sci-fi.
Yes,
Opposite.
I'm.
I'm for the opposite. I read Lord of the Rings and said, okay, this is as good as it gets. I'm done. Nah.
I grew up with reading Lord of the Rings, the Wonderful Wizard of Oz,
Love
Alice in
it.
Wonderland.
Alice is actually we've spoken before, and Alice is something that is definitely a obsession of mine, and plays into a lot of what has inspired me. If everybody notices the descriptions on all of our videos, and hopefully some readings in the future, and possibly even some minor parts in these podcasts. We have the March Hare, who is a denizen of the mine in Sorrow Mine. So look forward to that. And yes, he is a reference, of course, to everyone's favorite Mad Hare and friend of the Mad Hatter. So um, on that note, the Alice is something that is inherently close to horror. As much as it's a fantastical story, it's got horror elements. Are you a fan of horror in general? The movies, horror punk music, or the or books or any other form of expression in horror.
Well, the thing is, I grew up with horror. I didn't grow up with like kids were like trading Pokemon cards or Digimon cards. My mom raised me on what's it called? Tales from the Crypt.
Ah, yes.
I grew up on the movies. I grew up on watching the shows. My dad had a Crypt Keeper puppet.
That's awesome. Um, the our one of the members of Sorrow Mine, who plays the keeper, is a huge fan of Tales from the Crypt, and each one of the characters, especially the Plague Doctor and especially the Keeper, are based upon the idea of the Crypt Keeper. So it's interesting that you should say that.
What's that? my mom's side of the family, my mom and my uncle especially. My mom used to keep me up to watch Tales from the Crypt with her. My uncle kept me up to watch The Army of Darkness with him and all the Evil
Awesome.
Dead movies. I grew up with Are You Afraid of the Dark and the Goosebumps series. I'm pretty much numb to horror.
Well, that happens.
I love watching it. It's just it takes a lot to get me scared. And when I discovered Asian horror, like Korean and Japanese horror, that's when I was like, okay, I found something new.
Indeed. Like, I guess we're going to the horror part of the podcast, but I think that Ju-on 2 is probably the last movie that truly made me jump like crazy. It's really hard to scare me anymore, and I mentioned that, you know, I was scared of Children of the Corn until, I mean, even though I was around horror, and I was a much bigger fan of thriller as a kid. I would watch the Jonathan Frakes hosted Beyond Belief Factor Fiction. That was one of my favorite shows back in the day.
Oh my goodness, I love that show.
Oh, and it is so great. And what's interesting is when you look at those are basically creepypasta. It's basically what creepypasta is today. Is those type of is it real or is it not stories that they did. But I was not a huge fan of horror because it truly scared me to death. A funny story from back when I was much younger. I had went up with a few of my friends, and they were going to go see a movie that I actually found to be amazing later on in life, Red Eye. We went to see Red Eye, and I was scared to death. I mean, I was a little kid, and I was scared to death just for it to start, and I freaked out. So I left the theater, went into the other theater with my friend's mother, and watched The Transporter 2. I really wish I hadn't, because that's a terrible. I'm not a fan of action movies, but I mean, I was like that until I got into Silent Hill, and so I went. You know, I didn't even pass go. I went straight to the LSD and didn't look back when it came to horror. So and that's something that yeah, I really think that has drawn me to creepypastas. So it's interesting to see that a lot of people came into the love of horror in much different ways. But as a little bit of a nod to you and the audience, watch The Changeling. That is probably the only ghost story movie made in North America. It was made in Canada that will stand in the test of time and actually scare the living shit out of you.
I need to find it.
It is really great, and the cast is nothing but great actors, and the big name is Orson Scott Card. I think it was either his last or second to last movie before he made before he died. 1980 haunted house story, amazing. I mean, pure amazing. So, but after all that, I mean, we can move on, I guess. But so like one thing that this podcast is meant to do is to bring in the community, bring in the community, and allow them to have a outlet to listen to their readers, listen to people talk about creepypasta. So, what are your thoughts on the community of creepypasta, the fans and the readers? Like, are there too many of them? Are they not enough? Are they fervent? You know, what are your general thoughts on those people? You know, the fans and the readers.
Well, I talked to quite a few of the readers. I am friends with Mr. Creepypasta. And I'm also friends with the Creepy Dark. The Creepy Dark was like the first friend in the Creepypasta reading group that I made. He was the one who encouraged me to make more. He actually helped me figure out some editing equipment because I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to computers. I'm a dunce when it comes to technology. I can't figure it out, but he sent me a program that would help me out. But as for fans, there's a big variety in them. I get some of the weirdest comments. I get some of the funniest comments. And then I just get, those comments where you just think, I want to reach through my computer and slap someone. I'm mean. I'm really mean.
Well, that's YouTube comments for you. That's just the nature of the beast. One thing that I wanted to mention before, I'm actually probably going to end up doing a episode on this, but one thing that I've noticed a lot of people, because there is much more of a community around the readers now. There's a lot more crossovers. There's a couple people that'll make comments like, "Oh, it was better when just Mr. Creepypasta was doing it," or, "Oh, it was better when just one person was doing these," and to those people, I mean, I respect your opinion, and yeah, you can like one voice over the others. But definitely, you have to give all the different readers, give them a chance, because for me and the Creepy Dark last week, we're talking about needing variety in a lot of these, and certain stories don't lend themselves to even in our group. That's why we have multiple different types of voice. They don't lend themselves to the Keeper's extremely deep voice. They don't lend themselves to my mid-range voice, or they don't lend themselves to the more to a more accented voice that all of us have because we're from Kentucky. So you have to be discerning about what you're going to read, but just trying to listen to one of the readers. I mean, yeah, it's kind of tough to wade through the people that are just doing it for shits and giggles. But you gotta make sure that you try everyone out, and that's something that I want to do with this show is to spotlight a lot of different people, and hopefully I can get anybody who hasn't listened to our friend Humble Narrator to definitely check it out, because she's got some very interesting choices, especially music-wise, because it's awesome.
Yes, my music is awesome. My video game music from Alice Madness Returns. Buy the game.
Yes, buy the game. Don't buy it used. Buy the game. You get the original, and the original is beautiful.
Yes, it
plays like Zelda. It plays like Zelda. It plays like classic old Ocarina of Time era Zelda. It's great.
It's an amazing game. It's amazing.
So amazing. It's amazing. I have to. Anyway, so I mean, moving on, and before anybody takes away from what I said something different, I love every view that we get. I love every comment that we get. I want to hear everybody's opinions, but I'm just saying, food for thought. Allow for more more readers and more different styles to permeate your listening, because it really helps out any of us that are doing this, because we're doing it out of a labor of love. These videos are, because of it's a niche market. We're not going to get the views enough to become a YouTube partner. We're not going to make money off of this. We're doing this just because we want to say, I can put a spin on this story, or I can write a story that is going to scare you, or is going to entice you in some way. And I just really want to show you that, and that's something that I think that is common with all the readers. So, just keep that in mind whenever you're looking around YouTube for something to scare you. So, moving on, is there any recent creepypasta you've read, or you've actually read on your channel that you want to recommend?
I don't like recommending my own stuff, because Humble Little Narrator is not just a name. I'm actually very shy about bragging about myself. But I do have some planned. I don't plan on actually telling what they are, but one writer that I have narrated a lot from is Shinigami Eyes. I read a lot of his or her stuff. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, I've seen a few things from them, and I've enjoyed what I've seen. I'll take this time, because I have no shame. Our channel just recently put up the reading of The Raven by The Keeper, and of course we have his deep voice being amazing on it, and also each one of these podcasts is going to have a interview portion, if we have an interview, and we're going to have a creepypasta reading at the end. They will be posted to the channel the week after the podcast is aired, but you hear them here first. So, I guess I move on, but one of the best parts of the last podcast was the amusing stories revolving around creepypasta. So, are there any stories revolving around horror or creepypasta that come to mind that you'd like to tell?
I got quite a few actually. As someone, as I said, I'm pretty much numb to horror, but when something can actually get under my skin, it sticks with me for a while. Like when I first saw the original Japanese version of Ju-on, it was my 16th birthday party. It was a group of girls sitting on a boat watching the movie in the dark. I think like 15 minutes into the movie, all girls jump up and run to the light switch. And we got I think like 5 or 6 girls just jump up and run for the light switch. And another grudge story is that my friends hate me and they love me. They love to watch me play games because when I'm playing games, I swear more than a sailor. They like to watch me play Tomb Raider, Prince of Persia. It's like, Laura, move your ass! But they got a Wii, and they got the Ju-on game.
Oh, God. Yeah, and, I had flashbacks just then. That game.
They say, hey, why don't you play it? And I'm like, oh, fine. And I'm going through fine. There were a few jumps, and there was this part where I run outside a building, out of breath, think I finally got away from her. I turn around, she's right there in my face. I throw the remote down, and I run out.
Nope.
I just ran out of there.
It's like, I've been playing Silent Hill Downpour. God, I'm going to plug that game probably in every single podcast. But I've been playing Downpour, and a friend of mine was over, and we were getting through... I was wanting to show him because he's a fan of Silent Hill as well, and he hadn't played it yet. And we were getting through, and there's a part where you go to, I guess it's an orphanage, monastery type place. There's another, it's actually something else, but I won't spoil it. But you're outside, and one of the things about Downpour is that, unlike other Silent Hills, you can actually see outside. It's foggy, but it's not so much that it's not just there to lessen the draw distance. And it's really atmospheric, but you're outside. It's daytime. Everything's okay. You're not in the other world. But you're walking towards a door, and right outside is a playground. And if you played Shattered Memories, you know whenever you see a playground, something's going to move. So that's not the big scare in this area. So I'm like, okay. The swing's going. I'm like, okay, all right. That's pretty creepy. That's pretty creepy. And I noticed that there is a tire swing. And I turn Murphy around. I'm looking around, making sure there's no health kits or anything. And I turn around, and the tire swing has turned into a hanged woman. Fuck! Both of us, and it's in broad daylight, both of us were like, oh shit! No, not cool.
You're like, why you do this?
And that's one of the best parts about Downpour is it has a lot of little moments, whereas everybody remembers the first time they saw Pyramid Head. We had the story of Creepy Dark's first time seeing him, when they played Silent Hill 2. Everybody's got the story of dealing with the school, Bloody the School from the first Silent Hill. But Downpour has a lot more small moments that are just there to just irk you and really, really keep you on edge. And that's something that I really enjoy about the game, even though I gotta say, it doesn't have I almost feel sick while I'm playing this. I'm dreading it so much like Silent Hill 2 and 3 had, in my opinion. So, that's a great segue into the next part. It's like, again, I want to ask this of everyone that's on this, Silent Hill or Resident Evil?
Well, here's the sad part. I never played a Silent Hill game. I know! I'm terrible! I'm terrible! And I only played like the first 15 minutes of a Resident Evil game. But if I have to pick the movies, I'd say Silent Hill was better.
Oh, hell yes. Okay, we're probably going to get into an actual rant about this because I am going to do a Resident Evil episode and a Silent Hill episode. Dustin, who plays the Keeper, is a huge Resident Evil fan. and he's going to take that episode while I'm co-commentating, and then the Silent Hill episode. That's my ballpark. But when you look at the two movies, I know a lot of people hate the Silent Hill movie. You got good reasons. It's not that good.
There's good reasons to hate the Silent Hill movie.
Yeah.
I'm going into like reviewer mode here. There's a lot that's about the Silent Hill movie, but from what I've heard, I got a lot of gamer friends, and they said it's one of the better interpretations of a video game to film.
Well, look at what we got. We have Super Mario Brothers, Prince of Persia. That was a big letdown because I love Jake Gyllenhaal, and
I love Prince of Persia. Trust me, I was mad. I was mad when they changed Farah's name. I'm like, I hate the character, but you don't touch her name.
It's like, but I mean, I really didn't mind the change to Rose Da Silva from Harry Mason. I understood they were trying to reference Silent Hill 3. That's fine with me. And when I watched it, I wasn't as annoyed with Pyramid Head being in it because I'm a fanboy of Silent Hill. So as soon as I saw him, I was like, Pyramid Head, Pyramid Head, Pyramid Head, yay! Oh God, I'm scared of him. And the effects on Pyramid Head was great. But after the movie, you sort of sit there and think, wait, why is he there? James ain't there. Why is he there? Because, without spoiling anything, because you're going to have to play Silent Hill. It
was my gamer friends who I knew about Pyramid Head because he's one of those things that you know right off the bat.
It's kind of like everybody knows about Nemesis from Resident Evil, so...
You don't have to play the games to know who this guy is. I'm like sitting down with my friends watching the movie. I go, oh, it's Pyramid Head. He's like, and my gamer friend is just like, he's not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And this is the same friend who slapped me for calling Squall Leon.
As I sit here with my pristine, albeit greatest hits version of Final Fantasy VIII, my favorite video game of all time. Yeah, I'm calling it right now. On the horror podcast. I love the romance game. Shut up. It's nice. I like it.
I played Kingdom Hearts before I started playing Final Fantasy.
I did too. Don't worry.
I see all his figures and I see a Squall figure. I'm like, oh my god, it's Leon!
He is Squall. He is Squall, period. Oh, and please excuse the little beeping. That's I forgot to turn off our little driveway alarm. Anyway, so
I'll be thankful that I turned off my cell phone because if that thing was going off, you would hear something from Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge.
I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge, but we're going off topic a little bit here. I mean, bringing it back, but I mean to finish off what I was saying, the Silent Hill movie is fun. I own it. I watch it from time to time, and I think that the guy that made it, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the director, he really did love Silent Hill, and...
He tried.
He definitely tried, and he captured the place pretty well, which is the most important part of Silent Hill.
He got the atmosphere okay. I like the transitioning scene from the real world to the other world.
And that was adopted by the games. That was one of the most interesting parts about Silent Hill. Every game is canon in some way, and they build on each other. And, the transition to the other world through the flaking is really, really creepy, and I'm glad that they took it in. So there's a lot of different parts of the movie that I do like. The Resident Evil movies, on the other hand... Paul W.S. Anderson, I'm looking at you, are just, hi, guys, look at Mila Jovovich. She's my wife. I'm doing her. Look at how hot she is. Ugh.
Yeah, she's not that hot, honey.
She's not. And I know that as he's listening to this, Dustin is yelling and yelling and yelling about how much he hates W.S. Anderson, and with good reason. I cannot stand the man because he just took every part of it. And for all the people that really, really like the first movie, because the first movie isn't as bad, every scene basically that was actually referencing one of the old Resident Evils, not 4, lasers, every scene that was referencing the old one, like the liquor, was directed by someone else, added later. Just putting that out there. So... That movie is made of bullshit. Um, so anyway, but rants over. There's a lot of those, yeah, a lot of the adaptations that aren't so good, but the games really are, something to be cherished. I think every single one, yes, including Silent Hill 4, I actually really like 4. But Book of Memories can go fuck itself because it's a top-down shooter, and I'm not getting into that rant right now. But anyway, I mean, bringing it back to creepypasta and such, the love of like Silent Hill and Resident Evil and horror in general is something that creepypasta, it's always referenced. There's creepypasta just simply about Silent Hill. Mr. Creepypasta did a great one. I can't remember his name at the moment, but
I think that was Enjoy Your Stay.
yes, it was, and I really do, I do enjoy that one. So, that was one of my that was one of my favorite ones that he's done. So, uh, and that one is, you can tell it's written by fans for fans. It's an interesting story. And Resident Evil, and we're going to do a reading of this at some point, but basically has creepypasta in it, because in the first Resident Evil, one of the first things that you're going to come across is the Keeper's Diary. I want everyone to go with me. How did we get the name Keeper? So, but the Keeper's Diary is basically a creepypasta. It's on the creepypasta wiki, if I remember correctly, and people have posted because it's 1997 creepypasta. Basically, it's written exactly as most creepypasta is, with a little bit of the beginning, setting up a character, then just descent into what the hell, material. So, but yeah, that's something that I wanted to mention, though. I am trying to bring this back into creepypasta. So, 32 minutes in. So, any other like stories you want to tell before we end out the segment?
Oh, stories to tell. I got like a million of them. I'm
Awesome.
full of stories. Um, I've lived in Belgium. I've been all up and down the East Coast of the United States. The Robert the Doll story, actually,
Yes.
bringing that in.
Yes.
I lived in Key West at one point, and I went to the museum where the doll actually is. So I wanted to do that story because I've actually seen the doll.
I don't know if any of the fans, the people that listen to the show, all 5 of you, I don't know if you've ever seen like the old History Channel, like Ghost Stories of America type of shows, but a mainstay was the story of Robert. And oh my god, as a child, because I loved watching those, I was too scared to watch a horror movie, but I could watch those. When I watched those, I would always just freak out about the Robert the Doll story because it just seems so messed up. And of course they get the guy with the amazing voice to do it all the time, and that's why when I first saw your video for the Robert the Doll story, I noped right the hell off YouTube. Nope, not thinking about nope, not watching it.
Go to the museum and look at the actual doll.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is creepier in real life. I mean, there are stories. I got stories from viewers that during a hurricane, the museum was flooded, and Robert the Doll was found outside his case and up in the rafters.
Because he is kept in a glass case now.
Right? Yes, he's kept in a glass case, and it said he gets out of his case every night.
It's like he used to be just displayed regularly, I think, if memory serves correctly. But then he was, and by the way, for this story, go to Humble Little Narrator's video about it. She does a great telling of the original story, and it's a true story, which makes it creepier. But they put him in the glass case, but they tell you when you're there that you have to ask permission for pictures. Because Because like one of the specials that I watched, you know, like I can't remember if you went over it too, but like people said that there was a curse where he'll like put a curse on you if you don't ask permission to take his picture, and he will nod if he wants you to. So, yeah.
No, my friends wanted to take a picture. I was like, no, nope. Go the other way.
Nope. I'm leaving.
Oh, look, beach, that way. Let's go that way.
No taking pictures of the demonic doll. No. We have another member of Sorrow Mine who has a doll phobia, just out and out freaking phobia. Seriously, it ends up being one of us has arachnophobia, one of us is scared of dolls. Me, the rabbits. That's a story.
That's fine. I got a fear. I'm 23 years old and I'm afraid of the dark. I got a terrible fear of the dark. I cannot be in a dark room alone.
I
always have some kind of light on. I sleep with the television on.
I have to have it completely dark to go to sleep normally. Oh, well, I feel like I've talked forever. So, you got anything else to add before we go?
Oh, I can't think of anything. I feel so bad.
Anything you want to plug? Your channel? Everything?
Check out Humble Little Narrator on YouTube.
Please do. She makes some really great stuff. And I'm sorry that I've talked this entire time.
It's fine. Just invite me to come again. We'll have like a roundtable discussion or something.
Yeah, everyone who's on here is welcome to come back again. You've been a great guest. So this one will be, we're recording this on Sunday, May 13th. It will be up this following Saturday. So it's been a while since we've recorded this as you're hearing it. But stay tuned for our creepypasta reading at the end. And I really, really hope you look forward to our next guest, Miss Shadow Lovely. Thank you very much. And next time, I won't talk so much. I promise. Thank you for listening to this portion of our podcast. Please give us some names. We want some suggestions. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another interview from your friends at Saruman. Now we have a very, very fun treat. The first story written by Saruman for Saruman. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks to Humble Little Narrator for being on and entering the mine this week. Next week, Miss Shadow Lovely will be joining us for yet another interview. We'll have one more interview after that, which we'll have to wait till next week to find out who our big guest is, of course. And then, after that, we will have a 2-part episode. 2 episodes in a week, dealing with The Legend of Zelda. And we'll have another guest for our roundtable discussion then. Look forward to it. This is the Plague Doctor, thanking you for listening. And from all of us at Saruman, have a creepy week. No other way really to do it. Goodbye. And one last thing. Watch out on your way out of the mine.
There's a tradition in my family that, it's sort of a morbid one, but it's something that's been passed down from generation to generation, father to son. It's one of those style things.
It's a story that basically says that when you die, you will know the greatest thing in your life, and you will tell it to the person that you most love. And you will know the most terrible thing, and you must tell it to someone that you do not wish to, for they must carry the burden. And all of my life, my great-grandfather and an uncle and aunt of mine, when they finally died, before they did, be it on their deathbed or a month before, they sort of knew, would tell normally their significant other something that would make tears well up and hugs and kisses and such flow. And always there would be a time where, for example, my uncle said, "Come into the other room with me," to a cousin of mine. And he came out with a look of pure horror on his face. But it was normal for our family. We knew what was going on. So, we knew what was going to happen a couple years ago when my grandfather died. He was on his deathbed, and he looked around in the hospital, looked at all of us who were standing vigil, to be honest with you. He leaned over to his wife, my grandmother, and she began to cry and kissed him goodbye. And he looked to me, beckoned me over. My father objected, but he was quickly put down by his father, saying that this is how it must be. And he leaned over and he told me, "Boy, I'm sorry, but this will torment you. This will hurt you, but you can never tell another person until your death. Because when you do tell someone, you are giving them torment, and living with that is hell. And I'm glad I'm not going to live to know your torment. It's tradition, boy. I hope you understand." But I don't. Because he leaned over and told me something that it's in my mind. Every minute it's in my mind. Every moment of every day it continues to play in my head. Every second I keep on thinking of the words that he spoke to me. I wake up in the morning and I hear it. Somehow I fall asleep at night, but my last thought is always the terrible things he told me. It continues to play over and over and over, and all I can think of is I would rather be dead and let someone else deal with it. So I'm going to let all of you know what torments me every day. My grandfather, on his deathbed, leaned over and told me one of the most terrible things one can ever hear. Something that continues to play in your mind over and over. He turned to me, said, "Son,
behind you, there's a stranger out to find you. What to do?
Dead son.